Good evening and welcome to the school committee meeting of Tuesday, April 11, 2023. The school committee started the meeting about 6:30 with an executive session. We've now adjourned to return to open session, and like to welcome everyone to this meeting, as well as our awesome set of fourth graders and their parents. So we'll get to that in a few moments. First, as we start all meetings, please join for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Also, as we open our school committee meeting with the reading of the mission statement. The vision of the Wakefield Public Schools is to graduate students who are confident, lifelong learners, who are respectful and caring members of their community. Our mission is to prepare students for college, career, and community by providing a rich and challenging curriculum, high-quality instruction, and educational experiences that meet their individual needs and interests. Our first item number 6 is public comment. Do we have any members of the community who wish to speak to the school committee about any item, whether it's on the committee agenda or not? Please approach the table, state your name and address, and welcome.
Thank you. These are on. Jacqueline Chisholm, or Spry, 14 Turnbull Avenue. And I'm here tonight to voice concerns I have related to what I consider to be some significant communication and procedural failures as they related to the youth risk behavior survey that was taken last week in the 7th through 12th grades at the Wakefield Public Schools. On March 23rd, an email was sent to all parents of the students in those grades regarding the youth risk behavior survey. The email advised parents that a hard copy of the survey would be available in person in the office, and that was the only way for parents to view that survey. I'm home now. I didn't used to be a stay-at-home mom, but I found that policy completely unacceptable, as it was a complete disadvantage to working parents, as they clearly do not have an equal opportunity to view a survey that is in an office, in a school, during school hours only. Knowing that a digital copy of the survey was forwarded to parents in 2021, when my oldest daughter was in 7th grade, I emailed Mr. Tetrault at the Galvin on March 29th, asking why the survey was no longer available in a digital format. It just so happened that the student showcase was that same night at the Galvin, and in my email, I asked that he make the survey available to parents who were attending the showcase and to alert them to that fact, encouraging them to take advantage of being in the school building and having the opportunity to review it. No such email was sent. 2 days later, I did receive a response from Mr. Tetrault informing me that the survey was emailed to parents in 21 due to COVID restrictions, which made sense. His email identified that one big reason they didn't send digital copies to parents is because the belief that if students have access to the survey questions ahead of time, the chances for skewed data results will impact the validity of the survey. In other words, students who view the survey questions in advance are less likely to answer the survey questions truthfully. I have a problem with that thought pattern. If you read between the lines, this statement admits a distrust in parents and guardians and an assumption that they would share the survey with their child in advance. It further assumes that students who viewed the questions in advance would be dishonest in their responses. Why are we putting these assumptions ahead of the parents and guardians' rights to equal access to information in order to make informed decisions on what is best for their child? On April 3rd, an email came from the Wakefield Public School admin team to provide additional information regarding the survey. It stated that the survey would be administered to the students in the coming weeks And the intent of the email was for parents to be fully informed before making the decision to opt their student in or out of taking the survey. Those two statements were wholly inaccurate. The survey was not taking place in the coming weeks. The high school was the very next day. The middle school was 3 days later. And there is no option to opt in or out. Every student is by default opted in with only the option to opt out. There was a frequently asked question document attached to that email that referenced the reason the survey was only available in person was because it was a practice that all school districts throughout the Middlesex League use. That statement was also false. I discovered the Wilmington Public Schools, which is another Middlesex School League, shares a digital copy of their survey directly on their website. If they can, why can't we? So while the need to make information more equally accessible to parents and guardians is of great concern, as is the need for transparent and accurate communication from our administration, the most alarming procedural failure of all is the fact that students who were opted out by their parents were still given access to the survey. Last Thursday, my daughter, 7th grader in the hallway, who was opted out of the survey, stood in my kitchen, opened a link on her Google Classroom, had access to the survey, and began participating in the survey on her cell phone in my kitchen. Completely unacceptable. And I think my point is that this needs to be carefully and considerately reviewed. And just a summary of all that I've said is we are limiting access to information to our parents and guardians and giving access to information to our students who should not have it. Thank you.
Thanks, Jackie.
Thank you.
Thank you. Others? Good evening.
Hello. My name's Dallas Moody. I live at 22 Grandview here in Wakefield. I'm a parent of a child at the Galvin Middle School, and I basically want to address a couple things that have come to light over the last week in my own interactions with my child that I was able to discover. So first thing I want to read is the vision of the mission statement of the Wakefield Public Schools and what you guys all previously just read. The vision of the Wakefield Public Schools is to graduate students who are confident, lifelong learners who are respectful and caring members of their community. Our mission is to prepare students for college, career, and community by providing rich and challenging curriculum, high-quality instruction, and educational experiences that meet their individual needs and interests. Secondarily, my son also attends the Galvin Middle School, and ultimately, a form of a mission statement for them is that the Galvin Middle School strives to provide students and staff with a safe, respectful, and positive learning environment where students will achieve academic and social and emotional success. Our school community embraces the unique intellectual, emotional, physical, and social differences of all students while striving to meet the needs of all learners. It came to my attention that roughly 2 weeks ago, 2 students chose to bring knives to our public schools. No communication was communicated to the parents in the district with regards to this. I would beseech you as a school committee to figure out how you actually deal with this. Is there something in the policy? Is this a limitation from the state? It is a problem to me if, one, that child can send a Snapchat photo to my son of a knife the day before, and then the next day he brings that knife to school. In my mind, knives are the third most used weapon in murders in 2021. We are now a couple weeks removed from this. An email went out to the parents last week, basically asking us to call the principal with any concerns. My concern in general is that this deprives us as a community to educate our children on why and have actual moral and ethical conversations that don't happen just inside of a church or wherever you might choose to get your moral ethos. There is no opportunity if we haven't actually addressed this through school assemblies. We do not have to single out the children or anything like that that this is related to. But if no communication happens to the parents of this district, then there is no opportunity outside of the next time a school shooting happens at Uvalde, next time a man goes in literally yesterday and shoots up a bank in Louisville. A knife is the third most deadly weapon being used for murders, yet we're not choosing to address it with the same level of significance. My concern is that we are depriving students as well as families of being able to have a very real conversation of how it affects our community directly. I have no idea, quite honestly, what the state law is with regards to this, as with regards to pedagogy, but what I would tell you is we are doing our students of this district a massive disservice, as well as the families of this district, if we are not communicating any of this, and there is no policy as to how to address this. We're able to address swastikas and other things inside the district, which are equally as horrible and atrocious, but I'm also saying this is something with regards to safety of our students and the opportunity for parents to actually have a discussion with their children about what is actually to be a member of the community that is actually, thriving. And right now, this is very frustrating to me as a parent of a child in the district. I would encourage the district and the school committee to figure out a policy as to how communications surrounding this are communicated to parents within the district. And that's my final word. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public who'd like to address the committee on a matter that may or may not be on tonight's agenda? Anyone on Zoom? Here for public comment? Seeing none, I think we're all set. So we'll close the public comment period. And without objection from the committee, I'd like to take a few things out of order and turn over to Assistant Superintendent to introduce our fourth graders and guests and our faculty leaders.
If it's okay if I can set the stage for two different
Please
groups,
do.
because we have another group of kids up here on Zoom from the
Please do.
Galvin.
Thank
so
you.
First, we have Pete, Dion, and Ann Hadley here from the Wakefield Municipal Gas and Light Department. They are here to help honor our students in fourth grade who won the sticker contest, which we'll learn a little bit more about from Valerie Drynan here, our elementary STEM coordinator, and Joanne Marks, our 5 through 12 science coordinator, along with Marguerite Patterson, our STEM coach, and Jocelyn Sheehan and Grace Gleason, our science specialist. So big group here to honor these kids. And then after we talk about the science sticker winners, we do have Mr. Gorski and Ms. Foy and a group of students from Galvin on Zoom with Ms. Marks as well, just to give us, we'll stay on the science theme and just get a little Science Olympiad update as well, if that's
Great.
okay. I think that's a little out of order too. If
Sure.
you're good with that.
That's awesome.
You good
It's
with that?
not out of
Okay.
order at all.
Okay.
Students first. Students first.
Okay.
Were you able to do this?
Oh, yes. Ryan, can we put the slides up for the sticker winners?
If not, we have the prints. We can work with that if it doesn't.
It's,
Okay.
Oh, no, not that one. There it is.
There it is. All right. Thanks for having us here
Sorry, that
tonight.
angle's jumped out.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have a clicker right to your.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. So I'm Valerie Drynan. I'm the K4 STEM coordinator.
And I'm Joanne Marks. I'm the 5 through 12 science curriculum coordinator.
So Joanne kind of kicked this off for us this year, as this is not a new partnership with the Wakefield Gas and Light Department, but we simply realigned the project to where it aligns with our curriculum. So do you want to talk about what it
So
was before?
pre-COVID, this, and for many years, I think you had mentioned back to 2008, there was a partnership between the Wakefield schools, 5th grade, and the Wakefield Municipal Gas and Light Department. And there was a 5th grade essay contest around energy conservation that includes Galvin Middle School and also St. Joe's. And that was a very successful contest for many years. And then COVID happened, things changed. And then in reimagining it this year, and in working with Wakefield Gas and Light and with our new science teachers at the elementary level, we aligned the contest to be more in connection with the fourth grade standards, where they really do fit. So in fourth grade, the students learn about renewable and non-renewable energy. They learn about electricity, and it seemed like a really natural connection to make. And as a sticker contest, it felt something that everyone could access, get excited about, and we were really excited by the offer from Wakefield Gas and Light to be able to produce these stickers and share them with the community.
So just a little bit about the project. So all fourth grade students across the district and at St. Joseph's. Sorry, thank you. Looking behind me, thank you. Thank you. We're posed the question, what should people know about renewable energy and energy conservation? So they were challenged to create a sticker to raise awareness in the community. And I'm gonna, in a minute, pass it over to Pete to let him share a little bit about that. And then we'll announce the winners. So this was just kind of what they were posed with as we started off the project. We also wanted to acknowledge it was the first time we actually had a chance to highlight some of our elementary STEM team. So we have our two third and fourth grade science teachers here tonight. So Grace Gleason is the science teacher for Woodville and Greenwood, third and fourth grade, and Jocelyn Sheehan is the third and fourth grade teacher at Dolbear and Walton. And really, they get the credit for this contest because they took the lead on all of it with the kids in the classroom. And so we were super excited about that. And Marguerite Patterson, our STEM coach, is here tonight just to support as well. So,
I just wanted to say thank you to the faculty and administration. We missed it for the 2 years we took off after COVID, and we're glad that the whole project was reimagined. And I think it was hugely successful, and we really enjoyed doing it. So we're excited to recognize the fourth graders that were our winners. And there was a lot of every fourth grader participated. We had some semifinalists, and we had some very creative winners. So we're going to recognize them tonight.
And all students were fortunate to get some lovely bags from the electric department, and the winners got some special prizes and a certificate tonight as well. So we'll start off with the winner from St. Joseph's, and that was Liliana DeVoe. Next up is one of our Dolbear winners. We actually have two from Dolbear. So the first one here is Ella Caggiano. And next up is Hazel Thompson. Our winner from Greenwood, Stella, could not be here tonight, but we have a certificate and printout of her sticker for her that the science teachers will bring. Our Walton winner was Lincoln Hill. And then we have two from Woodville, Callie and Tapa. And Emily Bove. We also had 32 semifinalists, right?
Yes.
32. They're all almost up there. 32 semifinalists, and they were presented awards at their schools. We had presentations at the individual schools over the course of the last week and a half or so. Yeah. And thank you to the Wakefield Gas and Light Department for sponsoring this partnership with us.
Thanks, Val.
Yeah.
I
If
think
the school committee
little
wouldn't mind
photo op.
standing up behind them.
Do you want me to?
Would someone from the Light Department want to get in? Peter, and I see Jen, the chair of your Board of Commissioners, is with us tonight as well, Jen Calais. Jen, come on in, please. No, right in there.
All right, everyone's in, that's good. All right, everyone smile. And one more. Thank you.
Congratulations, you guys.
All right, so I'm going to jump back for a moment to introduce Mr. Chris Gorski and Miss Becky Foy, two 7th grade science teachers at Galvin, who are also 2 of 3 teachers that coach our Galvin Science Olympiad team. They have been doing this for many years, and they really create an opportunity for kids. And our Galvin kids have had a lot of success in the past years. They continue to have a lot of success this year at their state tournament. The Science Olympiad tournament consists of 23 different events. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Gorski. Is it still 23? Yeah.
Thumbs up to that.
And they range from engineering events to test events to lab events. And these students work hard starting in the fall all year long to prepare for this day where they challenge their knowledge and their builds and their lab skills. And it's a really fun day. I think this is the first day back in person for a while. And so I'm really excited to introduce them and for them to share some of their successes with you tonight.
Great.
Chris, can you hear us?
Welcome.
Yeah, I can hear you. We're excited to be here. So our team came in 6th place this year in the States. So we're a little bit, like Miss Mark said, we're a little bit in a rebuild because we haven't competed since 2019. So we're excited to be back. And we have some personal successes that some of the kids are going to share with you, I believe. Nathaniel Chines, you want to chime in?
Yes. Yeah, so for Science Olympiad this year, for the state, for the solar system event, I got 2nd place. Yeah, for the solar system event. For Crave the Wave, 3rd place. For Dynamic Planet, I got 4th place. And then for Bioprocess Lab, 5th place.
Sweet.
Nice job.
Some great swag there.
And I think Izzy Stratton's going to chime in also, if that's okay.
Please.
My name's Izzy Stratton, and I competed in 3 of the 23 events. Storm the Castle, which we got 9th in, which was you launch a trebuchet at a bucket and try to get it in. And
Is
then
that your trebuchet behind you?
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's huge, right?
It's only it's less than 70 centimeters tall, and because it had to fit inside a 65 by 65 by 70 centimeter box, and so it needed to fit the parameters. It's just the Zoom box is tiny. I also did Sounds of Music, where you had to build an instrument and then play Battle Hymn of the Republic and a chromatic scale on it, and also take a test about notes and different things and music. And I got 6th in that one. And then for the last event that I participated in, it was Road Scholar, which is about maps, and we looked at maps of Washington, D.C. and other things, like identifying different things, and we got 3rd in that event.
Cool. Nice.
Nice job.
I don't know if anybody had any questions or if any other kids want to speak. If that's okay, you feel free.
I think it'd be nice if they all introduce themselves at least.
Maybe you could share what your favorite event was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
go ahead, Lisa.
Yeah, go right ahead.
So my name is Nico Moody. First of all, I learned that a lot of things may seem to go your way, but like can change. But at the same time, like you learn that it still is fun, and the fact that you still may be able to achieve things and still like feel like you did something even after losing. Like, but you still like you learn things about yourself. Like I learned the fact that I'm not as good at building as I thought I was. I-
You're
I-
awesome at test taking.
Yeah, and to be fair, I did win the Kahoot-a-thon for state. Kind of. For like 2 events, weather and what was the other one? Oh, anatomy, I think.
Anatomy.
Yeah. And I've just learned a lot of things in Olympiad. I've made some pretty good friends from it. Teddy, Alexa. Yeah. And it's been a fun journey, and I'm probably gonna do it next year.
All right.
Yeah, any people watching, if you have kids in Galvin, I seriously suggest talking to them.
Awesome.
Good plug.
Great plug. Thank you for
Anybody
sharing. Any other kids, please?
My name's Manuel Carpenter, and I worked with Nathaniel and got 3rd place in Crave the Wave, and that was a really fun event. It was about like physics of waves and like light and sound waves, and it was really fun.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Nice.
3rd place, that's great.
Oh, we got someone on the bottom.
Who else?
My
Yeah.
name is Alexa Pelican. I got 3rd place in Crime Busters, which it's an event where like they give you a scenario and you have to figure out like a case, and it's really really fun actually. It has to be my favorite one for Olympiad, but it was me and Teddy. We got 3rd place for Assumption, and overall just Olympiad. You can learn a lot of things, like Nico said. There's a lesson that comes from this. Things can be challenging, but you have to work through them. Like, something might be challenging, but it has a good overcome. And I seriously suggest Science Olympiad to any student who goes to the Galvin who loves science.
That's
Could
awesome.
someone
Awesome.
answer, is it all grades at the Galvin, or is it just 7th and 8th, or
It's all grades.
all grades, so 5 through 8?
5 through 9, actually.
Oh, okay.
That's right.
Anybody else?
Any
wanna
other
speak?
students like to share?
Yeah, my name is Nathaniel Chimes. I already said my accomplishments, but Science Olympiad was it was just a really fun experience. It's very fun to be part of a club of nerds, I guess you could call it.
Be proud, Nathaniel.
So yes, it's you make good friends there. I've definitely made friends there. I guarantee that if you have any interest in science, it's definitely a great place to learn about your interests and test your knowledge. And it leads to like scientific careers. I remember Mr. Gorski saying that there was a science Olympian who did the meteorology event, and now he's a weatherman. So that's always exciting
You
just
never
to
know.
hear from the teachers. So thank you.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Thank you, Nathaniel.
I just want to add to that I think, like all the kids are saying this, it's really a place where people make a lot of friends. And I think kids that would have never known each other, because even 5th graders will end up being friends with an 8th grader that really wants to help them because they both have a similar interest. And, it's a place that, I don't know, we're just open and friendly. And if you like science, just come and hang out with us, right, guys?
Just to chime in,
Oh,
I never expected that I would be a person to like anatomy or something like that, and I found out I actually really like that event, and it's one of my favorite events now. So, something you learn about yourself every day basically is an Olympiad. It's a great experience.
Well, that is wonderful.
All right. Thank
Yeah,
you guys
sure.
so much for coming on.
Oh,
Go ahead,
yeah.
Chris.
I'm
Mr.
curious,
Ingalls.
you've listed off so many different events. I would think it would be hard to pick one because I don't know whether it was like I would love to build a trebuchet, and I also want to solve crime, and I like sound waves, and so I don't know.
Mr. Ingalls is very excited.
Yeah.
Come on.
I don't know how you. So how do you go about picking? So is there a maximum number of things that you can enter?
It's certainly the hardest part. It takes some people a few weeks, takes some people a few months. So or many months, or till the day before the competition, depending on the student. But it takes them a long time. So we at the beginning kind of just host different events and try to demonstrate how they go and let everybody try them. And then we sort of break off into groups, and we really break off into two rooms: a testing room and a building room. So once they make that decision, it gets a little easier, but it does take a lot, and especially for us to enter all 23. That's what our challenge is every year. I think Nico L wanted to say one thing before I think if he's on there. Nico?
Yeah, so my name's Nico. I'm a freshman at the high school, and I'd just like to say Science Olympiad's been it was a big part of my middle school experience. I had lots of fun there. I met friends that had similar interests to me. I think one of my favorite parts about it was just that, like, you get to explore, like, new places. Like, we got to go to Harvard, which is pretty cool. And you learn a lot of fun things.
Tell them about your wheeled vehicle this year.
So we got second place in wheeled vehicle, which is an event. You have to make a car that is powered with elastic bands. It has to go a certain distance as fast as possible and be very precise. So that was fun putting that. I put that together with Jeremy.
And Nico, they don't tell you the distance it has to go until that day, right? When you show up?
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how far did your car have to go? How far did it go?
A few
I think
meters?
It was 9.2 meters.
Yeah.
And Nico hit 9.1 meters.
Nice.
That's great.
Wow.
Also, just to we usually kids do about 3 or 4 events depending on the time frame. But also the thing when Mr. Gorski and I started, how many years ago was it? 100? 200?
A while.
We about 20 years ago. About 20? No. Well, maybe 18. So anyway, we decided we never cut anybody. So even if sometimes we only have 5 kids that want to, we'll pay for the extra team just so they get to do that event. Because we think it's that important that if you really have your heart set on something, to let kids be able to do that. So
There's a limit. There's 15 kids. Is that still 15?
15 kids per team.
On a team. So for every set of 15, they compete in all of the events. And so if you can have 2 full teams, that's 2 teams competing in the 23 events. Or as they were saying, if there's 5 extra, you pay for the 3rd team so that those students have a chance to compete in the events of their choice.
That's awesome.
And that's a decision we made early on that we were never going to tell somebody they couldn't if they wanted to.
That's great.
Wonderful decision.
Thank you for representing Wakefield. It seems like you did a great job, and you had fun doing it.
We have.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
I think we had a friend, I believe the Mario hat had his hand up.
Oh, Jeremy.
Yeah. There you go. Hi, Jeremy. Did you have your hand up? What do you got?
So I did events with Nico Lipsy. The wheeled vehicle, we got 2nd place.
Yeah.
Because we designed a ratchet system that stopped the car in place, so it was able to get very close to the target distance.
Nice.
And then we ended up getting 2nd place for that. And then Dynamic Planet, I worked with Nathaniel on, and we got 4th place in that. And then with all the studying we did, we got 2nd place in solar system like we did at Harvard.
Awesome.
That's great. That's impressive.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Chris, you might have a coach here on school committee that might be stepping up. He's a little upset about the age limit.
But he has an incoming 5th
Yeah,
grader.
we'll be there next year.
You can't wait.
Never say no.
Well, I think everyone deserves a round of
Absolutely.
applause.
That is wonderful. Thank you so much for. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so Chris, do you think maybe next year you could come in ahead of the competition just to let us know what you're working on?
Sure, if it's a few weeks ahead of time. The 2 weeks ahead of time where
It gets
a little
rapid
busy.
pace. Yeah.
No doubt.
But before then, we probably could, yes.
If you could, that would be great for us to hear more about this. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the builders would love to demonstrate their builds for you.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah, that would be a terrific idea for the future.
Can I say something
We'll
about
be at
Steam
Steam Night if you. We'll be at Steam Night. People could check us out. You're welcome, Miss Marks.
Good
Yes.
plug.
Good.
Nice
Nice segue,
That's
Mr.
nice,
Gorski. Thank you all for coming. I do. So he mentioned Steam Night, and we are bringing back Steam Night. So there was a Steam Night it ran for 2 years, I think, pre-COVID. The third year was planned and then was shut down due to COVID. So we've had a couple of years off, and that was a run under my predecessor, Jennifer Thomas. But we've heard so many wonderful things about it in the district. Val Drinan and I, who you met earlier, are working on bringing it back. So it's scheduled for May 11th. It's a Thursday evening. It will be held at Galvin from 5:30 to 7. There will be kind of a publicity push coming in the near future. And it's targeting elementary students and their families. So we will have tables showcasing the math and science classrooms at the 4 elementary schools. So we'll have our science teachers there, some representation from our math teachers, and then also some outside vendors. So we've got Spot the robot dog from Boston Dynamics. We've got some community vendors, the Environmental Sustainability Committee, and actually the Wakefield Gas and Light. I think they're going to have present the students stickers, kind of showcase there. So we're trying to do some commercial vendors, some community vendors, and then some of the school as well. So it should be a fun night.
Curious creatures?
Curious Creatures will be there with their live animals. Stay tuned. I'll see you there, Stephen.
So the Science Olympiad group will be there.
So Chris,
signing autographs?
yes. So they will be signing. Hopefully some of the students will come and be able to sign autographs and perhaps showcase their builds and some of their tests.
Yep, we'll be there.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Great.
That's great.
All right, thank you.
Well,
Thank you so much.
congratulations again. Yes. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being and representing Wakefield so well. Congratulations again to you, yourselves and your families.
Can they see us?
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Oh, no, that's cool.
Great.
I'm excited to see the trebuchet.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving along. Also without objection, I'd like to take out of order to bring up to table Mr. Weiner, the district IT director, for our State of Technology Update 2023. Mr. Weiner, welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Like you said, Jeff Weiner, I'm the technology director for the district. I just wanted to give a quick update on the state of technology, what we're focusing on, things that we've done over the last year or two, just so everybody's aware. The technology department areas of focus, we've got 6. We had 5 before. But we really been focusing on student experience and teacher experience, community engagement, management operations, technology support, and cybersecurity. We're kind of digging deeper into cybersecurity as of late, just watching the news and seeing what's happening in other places and school districts and businesses everywhere. So we've always had a focus on protecting information, but now we really want to check our own systems and make sure that they're not vulnerable. So that's kind of a thing we've been kind of trying to find I'll talk about that later. I got that on here. Student experience. Right now we are 1-to-1 Chromebooks K through 8. So every student has their own device that they use, K through 8, and then high school students that need a device get a device. There's even though high school is still BYOD, if someone does want one, they can get one from the school. BYOD at the high school, as I said, still providing devices to students that need them. We're using Clever as our simplified sign-on system. During COVID, we realized that it was much easier for kids to have one stop to go find all your apps that you need online than try to remember 600 passwords. And so Clever lets us kind of push all that together into one portal. And students can, in most cases, students can just click on their app and it logs them in automatically, gets them to the service they need faster. So we've been using that.
Jim, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So at the high school, the reason for not having one-on-one, is that because there's so much diversity in the types of devices needed, or is it a budgetary restriction?
So I think when we first started the one-to-ones, the high school decided that students having choice in their own devices was a better option for them. It kind of prepared them more for college, where they can use whatever they want. And I think that was the original push to that decision. I think sometimes, and it's more challenging for teachers, but I think the students having that choice gives them a little more. Depends what they want to focus on. If you have an art student, they probably want to use a Mac. If you have a business student, they might not. So it gives them that flexibility.
Great, thank you.
No problem. No student device right now is more than 3 years old. So we've been able to keep up with those devices and make sure we try to replace those sets. And we keep the devices that we kind of move out in case we need spares, in case someone needs to use one. We keep them and use them as long as Google supports them. So, which is usually 5 years about Google gives you. So we always keep those devices aside for different reasons, for MCAS, for whatever reason we happen to need them in the school, they still can get used.
Can I ask you another question?
Sure.
So for the high school, where they bring their own devices, do you also in some way support them if they have problems or not, or is that?
We try. I mean, we can try to help them. We can, because you don't always know every piece of software and every operating system they might have, but we'll definitely try to help them. And I know in the library they actually try to help them as well.
Cool.
With their devices. So yeah, there's definitely that. In that the high school is where our tech office is.
Right.
And so students do sometimes come in and they have problems with their own device, and we do without taking it apart, without trying to do too much with it, because if something happens to it, you don't want to leave them without a device.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we will help them if they need it.
Thanks.
Yeah. And students are using Google Classroom to kind of organize their assignments. A lot of teachers they really embraced it when we kind of, I think it was 4 years ago, probably started focusing on just using Classroom for assignments. So it really helps students with their organization, and teachers kind of dole out assignments that way. Teacher experience, every teacher and paraprofessional now has a device less than 2 years old in the district. So we try to keep them all up to date. We try to give them devices that they can use that aren't too slow. For a while, the price of those devices were just too high, and the devices were usable, but they were a little a little slower than we wanted them to be. Now they're all up-to-date devices. They're all quick-moving, and they're less than 2 years old at this point. Paraprofessionals we were able to do this year, they finally all got brand new Windows-based devices instead of the Chromebooks they were kind of using before off and on. So that was a big win for us. Laser projectors now at the Galvin. You don't have to deal with lamp life. They last longer. They're crisper, clearer pictures. They don't dim out on the teachers when they try to use them. We're putting those in elementary classrooms probably, I think, next week. In all the elementary classrooms through the district. So that install should be happening next week, which is great during break. And we've been using Zoom still, even after COVID, after teachers are able to attend and facilitate meetings through Zoom. It saves a lot of travel time. It makes things easier for people. They can sit in their classroom at different schools and be in the same meeting. We just continue to use it because it turned out to be a great resource. Yes?
How's the Wi-Fi access?
Wi-Fi, we doing really, I think it's been good. We do have occasional, blips in the system. I think it's a newer system. I think it was put in probably right before COVID. And bandwidth was increased probably, I think we doubled it at the high school and probably tripled it at the elementary schools in the Galvin. So, I mean, the speed of the internet should be good. There's always that, strange, building interference that you get here and there. But otherwise, it's we've had good reports about it.
Jeff, I know that the Zoom was obvious a phenomenon that we all grew up with through COVID.
Right.
So are there other things that I remember talking to Doug when we were in the middle of COVID saying, I hope we learn from this and can leverage what we learned during COVID for the future? Are there other things that if it's in the presentation, certainly it can wait. Are there other things that came up during COVID that now we utilize even though we're in person?
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the earlier things was that the Clever system, the single sign-on portal, we definitely didn't really use that before. We had just started kind of using it a little bit, but that really pushed us to use it. I mean, there are about 30 applications that students access, and now they can just get in through there, and it's simple for them. And teachers too. Teachers can set up their own page through Clever, and they can put the apps that they use. So students can go right to that teacher's page too, and they can access their apps just for that class, so they don't have to go searching through everything that we have. So we've been using that a lot too. So that's been a great resource.
Thanks.
Yeah. Community engagement. Our special education population has grown, so in support of that, our iPad program has grown. We started, I think, with 20 devices originally, and now there's over 100 probably at this point of iPads that students use to communicate. They have apps on them that help them learn faster and better. And that's a big thing for us because Apple's not always easy to deal with their devices. And so we got a great program now that works really well. We work hand in hand with the special education department, and the students have the resources they need, so it really works out well. Strong partnerships with Town IT. This one is one of my favorites because I know years ago that wasn't the case, and we're in a place now where we partner with them all the time. If I don't talk to them once a week, I'd be surprised. So we really work well together, which is nice. And Power School. Power School is our new student information system. It just really provides easier access to information for families, for students. A lot easier than the old system iPass used to. At least that's the feedback I've gotten from families and from teachers. So we're excited about that too.
Just on Power School, when it was rolled out, I just want to sort of highlight the person from your department who put together sort of the instructional videos did a very good job with that.
So I know Donna Cushman worked with Jimmy Martin on that.
Okay.
And those were, they really tried to be really clear, really.
Yeah. I know there were some challenges, but that was a high point sort of for me. And maybe some more of those would be in the future as we roll out sort of new technologies and software.
Yeah, sure. We do try to do that too, and the same people we usually work with. I know, Jimmy Martin's really, he's talented at kind of coming up with really clear videos. He's got the screenshots and the videos and they're good at that. So we'll definitely, anytime we roll out anything new, we try to push out some kind of video if we need to, or instructions that are really helpful and clear.
That's great.
Yeah. Management operations. We've implemented projector monitoring. So although now with the laser projectors, it's not as important, but projector monitoring, and you might sometimes drive by a school and see a blue light off in the window. Somebody leaves their projector on. Well, now we can monitor that and know that we can shut that off at a certain time if we want to. You can shut it off remotely with the system if you need to. So that was something we started last year, I think, which is great because it does extend the lifespan of the projector that do still use lamps. And if they use laser too, they still have a lamp life, if you will. Security cameras in all the schools, so we've been monitoring them. We make sure they're all working. We've been kind of lately seeing where we need to add, where we need to change, things like that, for the best access for safety in the schools. And we're
just to stay on that just for 1 second.
Sure.
Has the security assessment happened already, or is that upcoming?
No, it's started. It's not completed yet. So they're going to be doing a final meeting before they do a final write-up. So that will be coming in the next month.
Okay, great.
And we're developing a new technology plan now. With them, we're going to get input from teachers, students, community to start off the school year, and also our coordinators in the different departments are going to help with that as well. So we should have that hopefully soon. Technology support in general, we had 2,053 tech tickets closed since the beginning of the school year. It was a lot. A lot of them were Power School related. A lot of them weren't, but probably a large number of those were. We've got 5 staff members now. With 3,500 plus student devices, 340 staff devices, 290 projectors, 42 copiers and printers, 378 wireless access points. We're responsible for security systems, cafeteria systems, HVAC systems, building access, district Wi-Fi, sys management, like everything, anything that plugs in, turns on, we're working at it. So it's a lot, but our team is actually really strong and we work together really well. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited to have everybody that we have to work with us. It's in later, the presentation, but we just started kind of a part-time help desk, so people can actually call in and get a person. So it's nice. That's like it's the nicest thing. So nobody's calling, getting a voicemail. You don't have to email specifically. You can call in if you have an emergency, and somebody's picking up the phone and talking to you, which is great. Do you have a question?
Yeah, are the 5 staff members kind of spread out throughout the buildings, or are they kind of like centrally located?
It's more of a level of expertise kind of thing. So we have myself, and then Donna Cushman's our data network manager. So she does a lot of the student information system, anything related to data. Like she's got her hands in it, and then some. Plus, We've got our senior IT tech and our IT tech who both, one does kind of the lower level work, the other one gets the escalation. So it's, we do split kind of elementary schools and then high school, middle schools for them, but they do work together every day. So if something's a little more difficult, maybe one would step in and help the other. And then our new help desk person is at the help desk. She doesn't move around the school. She doesn't go anywhere because she wants to be at the phone when someone calls.
We also have faculty that help out that are stipended positions at every school.
Yeah.
Oh, you have a technology person at every school.
Yeah, there's a building-based support person at every school that we now work with a little differently than we used to. We're kind of going to them as a liaison to the school instead of having them assign direct tickets, which is difficult for them because they're in class, they're teaching, they have another job. So we're kind of utilizing them more as a liaison now, which is nice. It's actually good for everybody because we get the help we need right away, and they don't get interrupted during their teaching and their workday.
And does the help desk attendant, are they able to log into someone's PC so they can see the problem on their screen? Is it that type of?
There is a way to do it. Usually people have a harder time on the other end trying to connect to that.
Oh, okay.
But it's usually they're able to talk through, and if they can't, that help desk person now has the ability to kind of dispatch somebody if they need to. If it's really an urgent issue, they can call one of us and ask us to just go over there right at that minute instead of them having to wait a day for their ticket to be seen and somebody goes over there, then naturally kind of, so it's nice that we can have that kind of escalation immediately instead of having to wait.
Is that help desk only during school hours?
Yeah, we do it like 7:30. It's actually probably half the day. We do it 7:30 to noon, Monday through Thursday now. So
That seems like a significant list of systems. Like they're each vastly different. Like I think I'm looking at pay, I'm looking at time clocks, controls, access control. So that's impressive. And I assume like switches.
switches and any of the backbone stuff, the town actually manages for us, and the phones.
Oh, that helps.
Yeah,
Okay.
it does. It just helps a lot, actually. That's why it also helps to have a good partnership with them. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
No problem. Cybersecurity, almost the last thing. I was just saying earlier, we're doing a computer network infrastructure assessment, so we want to kind of check everything out, make sure it's good. That does include the protection of personal information. Most of our services and systems that kind of can have personal information in them are cloud-based, so it's nothing that we keep on site for the most part. The systems that we do have personal information in, I think they're managed by the town. I'm thinking Munis specifically, and so they kind of deal with their own security. But we don't, we want to make sure all of our systems are good and secure, and make sure that we don't have information that we don't know about. That's important too. We discourage people from sending an email with the social security number in it or payroll information in it. Instead of, go to central office instead and talk about that in person. Don't just email that on an unsecure email, things like that. Because people don't understand that. And we get a lot of phishing emails, people looking for money, and that's a big one too. That comes in multiple times a day. And we want people to be aware not to respond to those and not to pay them. Because that's a big deal. And people get nervous, even if it's something they know isn't real. It's like, oh, I didn't do this, but is it something that somebody thinks I did? And then they try to pay for it and try to get out of it. So,
Do you ever do any like awareness campaigns?
I mean, we do send out messages every once in a while about these emails and that, watch out for them. Let us know if something looks suspicious. If you're not expecting something, just ask about it before you reply. We do get a lot of people that do. We get a lot of people that come in and say, "Oh, looks like it's from central office." Like, is it?
Right.
And sometimes I have to call central office because it looks so real. I'm like, "Did you guys send this out?" And they're like, "No, we didn't send that out." So we then let everybody know, and so we talk about it a lot. It's a lot better than it used to be. People used to reply to them a lot more, all the time.
No, it's crazy how realistic they are. I just got an email from our finance director in my district, and it looked normal, and it was a subject that anyone would click on, and then 10 minutes later we got an email from someone like you saying, please do not respond.
Right.
It's happening a lot.
It is, and you usually get at least one person that says, "Oh, I did this. What do I do now?" And then you kind of go through the steps with them. And, The other thing we're doing, just because we have cloud services doesn't mean we don't want to make sure they're secure and those companies are secure. So we're also looking into those and making sure that those are as secure as our own systems. And so that's all part of the security assessment that we're looking into now, talking to different companies about to try to get the best service provided to us. So what's new? I kind of already talked about it.
Can I go just one step back on,
Of course.
on cybersecurity? Just I've heard from some parents in district that that while the district does a good job of sort of maintaining a secure space with school accounts, there are some parents I've talked to that would actually like it to be a little. They want to put additional measures on top of what's already managed, and it seems like that is that something that we allow? Is that a challenge to?
It depends on the additional measure.
Well,
Yeah.
the district would tend to block nefarious websites from school accounts.
Yeah.
And then, but you may, but say a parent doesn't want their kid to surf Minecraft videos on YouTube on their school PC.
So
And
YouTube isn't blocked right now?
some content on YouTube is, but not all of it, and it's a tunnel like everything else. And so kids have a habit. Every kid can find a loophole in so it's hard to sort of close all the doors, but there are some parents that are out there that know that, like, and I'm just using Minecraft as an example. They might be, I would not like my kid to be able to search this thing, and they can't apply that level of control on their child's school account. Is there, I understand how you don't want people to remove controls. Is there a way to allow them to add control, or is that just once district controls it, that's sort of it?
I think with the tools we have, there's no way to really do that.
Okay.
If it's a group of people, like if it's a group of students, say like all of fifth grade doesn't want this, we can do that. That's easy. Easier. I shouldn't say it's easy. It's easier to do though. It's easier definitely to take a group. When you start picking like one student at a time, that's a lot more difficult to do. I think it's possible somehow, but it's very difficult with the number of students we have to kind of provide like individual support for each one in that way, especially where it comes to YouTube, where we actually don't have the tools to block individual videos on YouTube. We can block YouTube, which would impact every teacher. But the one video here and the one video there, that's something we don't have control for right now. Yeah.
Could you block all students and not teachers? Can you
Not
separate
from
it like
individual
that?
videes.
Okay.
Again, from YouTube specifically, like a site, yes.
Yeah.
But not an individual like video or type of video. We do have the safe search and safe restricted video on YouTube already set for everybody. But it's still, every once in a while, as you said, you tunnel right through it and you can get to something that you shouldn't. I mean, that's just the way the internet works, and you can't block everything, unfortunately. But we do try to restrict as much as we can. That's obviously, people shouldn't be watching.
Thank you.
Which is also subjective. Depends who you ask. Yeah.
But I think, isn't there a policy that's like students shouldn't be accessing inappropriate stuff?
There is, and that's not specifically what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like there will be households out there that don't find our current policies restrictive enough for their household.
Gotcha.
Right.
And so they're asking, can we add additional measures? And no.
Not for individuals.
Not for individuals.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Got it.
If there was some crazy website that was surfing a particular grade and it was nefarious in nature, sure, Jeff could block that.
Right, then we do that. Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. So I think I covered most of this actually already anyway. The tech support help desk is new. You can email, you can text now, you can call, you can walk in. Supported by IT staff Monday through Thursday, 7:30 to noon. We got Power School that replaced iPass, that's new. Snap software is the nurses software, so now they have additional information that they can store and use that kind of links to Power School, which is nice. We had a system that replaced NutriKids in dining services. The laser projectors obviously increased the life expectancy of a projector now, which we should have in the Galvin and the elementary schools by the end of next week, at least for the most part. And obviously with the new high school, we would put them in there as well. So that's nice because those projectors last so much longer. So we're hoping we see that life expectancy of the whole district-wide set of projectors go up. And that it's pretty much it. These are the people that help us out every day. It's the tech department, but it's also the building-based support people that we talked about earlier, the teachers in the schools with the stipends. Those library media specialists are amazing. They help us integrate technology and work with teachers every day. Curriculum coordinators, they have all the software that I was talking about earlier, the subject-specific software. They know about the ins and outs and inner workings of all of that. So all of these people, are people that kind of work with us in technology in the district and invaluable resources to me. So I appreciate all of them. And that's it.
Well done. Well, that's great. Jeff, thank you very, very much. We've asked questions throughout, but any other questions or comments for Jeff tonight?
I do. I have a question about the mail server or Gmail.
Yeah.
So right now, is it K through 12 that can't email only internally? Or
Correct.
does it open up when you get to high school?
No, students right now, K through 12, can't receive messages from outside unless there's a specific request for it. We can open it up. If there's a service that a teacher uses or the school uses, we can open that up to allow it. But right now, there's no outside emailing in otherwise.
Okay. And one other question.
Sure.
Because a parent came in and talked about it, we had a survey that was distributed. Is there a way to, if your group mailing is like all 7th graders, could you then go in and unclick students not to receive an email
I
that
think
has
you'd
a
have to
survey?
take them out of the group first and then send that message.
Oh, you couldn't just simply click them off from the main group?
No, you can't say this group excluding these
Okay.
people. Yeah,
You'd have to
go into
create
the
a
group,
whole new group.
remove them from or you could create a new group or remove those specific students from the group.
Yeah.
Maybe copy the group and then remove those students, make a separate one for that.
Okay.
That would be a way to do it too. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's possible.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions for Jeff? Well, Jeff, thank you very, very much for coming in. This is an annual opportunity for us to really hear and appreciate the depth of work that you and your team members do. Often behind the scenes, and everything's working well. No one knows you're there.
Hopefully, that's the ideal.
Exactly, exactly. But, well, certainly the technology department has come leaps and bounds over the last number of years, and you and your leadership are quite a big part of that. So thank you, and thank your team members.
Thank you. I appreciate
Thank
that.
Thank you, Jeff,
Thank
very
you.
much. Well done. Appreciate it.
Thank you for the time. Have a great night.
Okay, item number 8, consent agenda. We have a motion.
We do. Move that the school committee approve the minutes of the school committee meeting and public budget hearing meeting of March 28, 2023, and accept the minutes of the school committee student services subcommittee meeting of April 3rd, 2023 as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Passes unanimously. Item number 9, budget items. Ms. Bafagna.
Good evening, everyone. You have the financial reports in your packet from July 1st, 2023, 22 to March 31st, 2023. The local budget has just under 6% remaining for entering the final quarter of fiscal 23, if you can believe it. We're also spending down our grants. Really, the last 2 grants that we really have to spend down are ESSER 3, which we have until September of 2024 to spend, and our MECO grant. We're actually working on an amendment to carry down probably about $70,000 from that balance to fiscal 24, which will help us over the summer with transportation for summer school and some programs that Glabby is working on. So that's really spent down. The last page is the revolving accounts. I know we're all been talking a lot about revolving accounts and looking at those budgets. Our school lunch program, which we have Dustin O'Brien up next to discuss. And we have our Wakefield Academy, which we're working on for next year, looking at charging some additional expenditures to that program. And Circuit Breaker, we're waiting for our last 2 payments. We'll get one probably, we really should get it by early April, and then the last one in June. We're still looking to carry like 1 full year of reimbursement of Circuit Breaker to 24. So does anyone have any questions on financials through March? So we're in good shape. The next thing is our 3 payrolls of March. March was a busy payroll month, so we had 3 payrolls.
We have a motion.
Yes, move that the school committee approve payroll warrants number 36, number 38, and number 40 as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Great. And it's a good night for gifts. We have 3 gifts tonight. I don't know if you want to take them one at a time, Amy?
Yes.
Yeah, do you want me to read the motion, then we explain what they are a little bit? Or not? Okay.
Well, the first one is the Credit for Life program. It was a gift from the Donald Garrett and Savings Bank. Program already took place on March 30th.
And it's a program just for seniors, is that right? Or
Yes, Amy McLeod. I think in your packet there was a memo from Amy
Yeah.
McLeod about it.
Okay.
Yep.
move that the school committee accept with gratitude the donation of $2,408.91 for the Wakefield High School Credit for Life program from the Donald E. Garrett Foundation / the Savings Bank. The program took place on March 30th, 2023.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Next one is a gift to support the track booster from the Track Boosters Club for the one assistant coach, $2,500.
Move that the school committee accept with gratitude the donation of $2,500 from the Wakefield Track Boosters Club, a stipend for one assistant coach for the 2022-2023 winter season.
Motion made.
Second.
Seconded. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Passes unanimously.
And last one, Friends of Hockey, 3 varsity assistant coaches and 2 JV assistant coaches for a total of $5,500.
Move that the school committee accept with gratitude the donation of $5,500 from Friends of Wakefield High School Hockey, stipends for 3 varsity assistant coaches for the boys 2022-2023 winter season. But I think you said it was, wasn't 3 assistants, right?
3 varsity assistant, 2
And 2 JV. Okay, so, sorry. 3 varsity assistant coaches and 2 JV.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Passes unanimously.
That's it.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Ms. Bufagna.
Thank you for
Okay.
those gifts.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
one other question?
Yes.
So the next budget meeting, is that is there a finance committee meeting this week?
Are you talking
No.
about subcommittee?
No, the budget, isn't the finance committee? In the last one, we had maybe
That's been moved.
Good, thanks,
It's been
Tom.
moved. Yeah, it's
Appreciate
not this Thursday night.
it. Okay, thanks. All set.
Okay, great, thank you. Item 11, superintendent reports, remarks. Dr. Lyons.
Thank you so much. With your permission, I'd like to take these out of order, and I'd like to invite Dustin to give an update on food service. Good evening, Dustin. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah. Good evening, welcome.
Hey, Justin.
Good evening. Thank you, Doug. So tonight, I'll just provide a few updates on food services since our last connection in the fall. Our most pressing item is the continuation of universal free meals for next school year. As you're aware, the meals have been free for 2 to 3 years now, and our program is almost 100% subsidized by state and federal funds. Over the last several months, we've been collecting meal price data in the event the universal free meals do not continue for next school year. To my knowledge, Wakefield's last meal price increase happened in 2016. Certainly, we've all seen some cost increases since then, and we'd like to be prepared for any changes. But currently, all signs from Governor Keeley are pointing that this will likely continue for at least another school year. This is usually decisions made on this happen over the summer, so we wouldn't likely have an update until at least July. So I just wanted to kind of come on and make that known that it's going to be up in the air until at least the summer for next year's determination. For initiatives in the district, we restarted some green initiatives from pre-pandemic. As some of you are aware, at Greenwood and Walton, the food rescue and composting programs have been up and running for most of the school year. This is spearheaded primarily by 2 community members, Cheyenne Ong and Melissa Houston, as well as participating building volunteers. The food rescue program takes surplus food and beverages and donates them to local shelters, community centers to be repurposed. There are talks about expanding these programs across the districts as the buildings can actually support them. And another note on the green front, which is actually a town initiative as well, was to eliminate styrofoam. And as of January, we've eliminated all styrofoam trays in the buildings. A future goal is to have all paperware and utensils to be compostable product. And next year, we're looking to primarily use a vendor that's BPA certified. As far as grants updates, this afternoon, we were awarded roughly $21,000 to continue our purchasing efforts for minimally processed and locally sourced foods. Our current notable vendors are Iggy's Bakery in Cambridge, as well as Walden Local Meats out of Burlington. These funds are going to be made available to us this coming August, and are in addition to $60,000 in assistance funds we received earlier this year. A quick staffing update is we've come a long way since August. In my initial interview and onboarding process, there was a concern of mine of the staffing levels, but we've nearly completed the 180. 6 out of the 7 buildings are fully staffed, and one of our Woodville team members is actually covering a short-term outage at the Doyle. We have an extremely hardworking and flexible team here, and are grateful to have them. With the summer approaching, we're in talks right now with the local food pantry about what summer feeding programs we can be made available. The district does not offer a summer feeding program directly, so we're actually looking to see if we can offer a drive-through or home delivery service through the pantry. I was able to tour the pantry earlier this school year, and it's quite the operation. I would say look for an update on the summer feeding program this coming May. Lastly, this past week, we met with the designers for the new high school and are active in the new kitchen, servery, and cafeteria design. Food services being involved in the process not always the case, so we're grateful to be included. Having just gone through this process in my last district, we feel that we're well positioned to give input on the new design, and are fortunate to have the chance to do so. So that's just some quick updates from us. I'm happy to answer any questions anyone may have.
Questions for Dustin?
No, Dustin, I was just reading that so I think the budget for the rest of this school year was just passed with the state in terms of free lunch. I thought there was some concern of funding sort of running out, and so they just passed a supplemental to get us through the school year. Is that accurate?
So the last update I saw was back in January, talking about the extension of those funds. But the short answer is yes, there's funds available through the end of the school year, and I think the governor's office made that clear in their January update.
Okay. Just thank you for the work you're doing, continuing with Iggy's and with Walden. I know one of my youngest has been sort of hesitant to use the school lunches, but there's been an uptick in the amount of sandwiches that are coming home because she's buying instead. So you're doing good work.
I have one other program that I think you're aware of, I'm sure you're aware of, and that's the kind of the backpack program at Galvin. I think Bev Elsowitz is kind of involved in that, where kids that are going home on Fridays may go home to a situation where there's just not a lot of food, so they're trying to find the kids in the Galvin and provide, because they don't want that stigma either, so they're trying to do it very subtly, so that the kids, they come and they can get some food to take home for the weekend for them. So that's Bev, I'm pretty sure it's Bev, but don't quote me on that. So that's a great start of a program that hopefully grows. Well, I wish it didn't grow, but for good reasons, I hope it grows.
I think Mike also, Kara Zabrowski, one of our ESL teachers, has a connection with the food pantry.
Who is that?
Kara Zabrowski, one of our ESL
Oh,
teachers
I
at
didn't know
Galvin
that.
too. She also has a connection.
Oh, that's
yeah.
awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
One thing when I was talking with Dustin, Christine was kind enough to line up a meeting where we were sort of talking about budget things as it related to the food program, and I was surprised. Well, I wasn't surprised. I saw the increase of a meal sort of in our budget. It's actually reflected in our budget book for this year. It's not a large increase. It's like 20 cents on top of the $3. And just what I was struck by is that as lunches continue to be free, nobody is sort of paying attention to that increase. And so just as a community, just to make people aware that even though you're not necessarily seeing it, those food costs are increasing, even though those costs are being borne by other agencies. So I guess my fear is that if that does go away and we go back to a paid system, people in their minds will have gone from like a $3 whatever lunch, and then by the time we get there, is it $3.50 or $4, and it'll seem kind of like a cliff. So just to make people aware that there are increases even if you're not necessarily seeing them, and they are reflective of food costs.
Yeah, yes. That's an excellent point. And it's important that we keep that pace.
Yeah.
At least as it's represented in the budget. Yeah. But no, it's a great point to make. Thank you.
Dustin also shared his very in-depth spreadsheet on like food costs and labor costs, and I was in awe of the amount of data that he's collecting and sort of has this pulse on the district as a whole, and being able to sort of take opportunities where they are. So it's good work.
I think it's the district and the state. I think he does a pretty amazing job at that, right?
Yeah.
So I think he's tuned in. He also is a great collaborator with other community partners. So I think we're very fortunate to have Dustin. Yeah.
Definitely.
Thanks, Dustin.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dustin. Yep. Good evening, and certainly pass along the gratitude of the committee to all the food service staff that make every building work every day. Thank you.
Will do. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you, Dustin.
Dr. Lyons.
Thank you so much. This evening, I have an update on the superintendent goals that I presented earlier in the year. I think it was September, October. So we're just about at the halfway point. I've worked closely with Chair Markham, and I think it's our goal to have kind of a mid-year update on goals, and to take this information and join it with the future update that we're going to have on school improvement plans and student achievement data and curriculum, and kind of include all of this as a snapshot of how we're progressing as a district, and hopefully use that information in the evaluation process as well. Fair? Am I missing anything on that? So this is an abbreviated slide deck, similar to the slide deck we shared last fall, but again, it's kind of a condensed version on the superintendent goals. So the agenda for this evening is just to kind of share that the superintendent evaluation process, and I will email this to you all so you have kind of the link to the process. So there's a rubric, and there are 5 parts to the process, but there are 4 standards on the rubric. And they are made up of instructional leadership, management and operations, family and community engagement, as well as professional culture. And so that's just a very quick overview. The critical parts of the process include the school improvement plans, and they're linked to this slide deck as well. Professional development plans, student improvement data, as well as goal attainment info on the goals that we've established, and we'll be sharing some of that information tonight. And so also as we go through and we touch on the goals, I've also highlighted what standard and what element and indicator correlate to the specific goals that we'll be sharing tonight. And as we go through that, I will highlight that so you won't miss anything. And so again, these goals, the superintendent goals, my goals are aligned to the instructional strategy. That is a one-page document that has 3 parts that focuses on teachers, curriculum, and individualized student work, right? And so if you remember those 3 parts or 3 vertices to like a triangle that we shared earlier in the year, and so these are all aligned. And so you'll also see the hyperlink here to the school improvement plans, and we'll have principals in late May, early June to give an update on school improvement plans around what we've achieved and also what goals will be continuing on into next year. So just jumping right in, and the first goal is to prioritize standards-based instructional practices that engage and meet the diverse needs of all students. These practices will promote academic, social, emotional, and equitable outcomes for students. In regard to our progress in that space, so this slide just summarizes the progress that we've made. And so you see on the left in the box in red, you'll see indicators for district goals. So if you go to the instructional strategy, standard 1 is instructional leadership. So if you go to 1B, you'll have student engagement, meeting diverse needs. 1D, evaluation system, evaluation of goals, assessment of current evaluation rubrics, and as well as data-informed decision making. And so what we've highlighted here on the right of this slide is in terms of the math curriculum and implementation. So if you remember, we've accepted a new math program, we've implemented a new math program. We're still kind of working at this, it's still progressing, right? We're still refining parts of this, and we're looking for new ways to support students in math. So there'll be an update on that when we talk about curriculum in June. So in terms of new professional development structure, so Kara has worked closely with stakeholders, and that part of the goal is complete. The curriculum coordination in terms of creating a common scope and sequence across all schools and grades. We've made steady progress on this. It's not where we want it to be, but we feel like we've made some progress here. In terms of monitoring student achievement data, right, at grade level and ILTs, we've made significant progress in this area. And it's been kind of, if you remember at the beginning of the year, I had talked about really us needing to just focus on student growth, right? I'd said two things that I'd like you to take away. We will focus on student attending school, getting kids in, and just trying to understand a baseline for students so that we can establish growth. And monitoring student achievement data with grade level groups and ILTs, we've made some really nice progress in this area. It's not perfect, but I do think we're ahead of schedule. And when I compare and talk to my colleagues in other districts, I feel pretty positive about the work that's happening with teachers and administrators at schools. I really think that that's a positive piece here. So, tiered supports for targeted differentiated instruction. This is an area that some portion of this will likely be iterated for the next number of years, right? And so when we talk about tiered supports, in classroom speak, there's tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Tier 1 supports is what all teachers provide students in regard to support in the classroom. Within a lesson, it's kind of built in. It's ubiquitous. You don't even recognize the supports that students are naturally getting. Tier 2 support is kind of the next level. If students are getting stuck, we start to think about how can we intervene, how can we help, right? And tier 3 supports are a little bit more complex, a little bit more sophisticated, and can happen in a number of different ways. They can happen in the classroom, they can happen outside of the classroom, they can happen after school, they can happen in summer programs as well. And when we think about support, it's not only academic support. We think about, academic support, we think about behavioral support, right? And we think about social emotional support, right? And so if you think of a 3x3 grid, students may need supports in a number of different areas. And I know teachers are really, I think in terms of tier 1, I think teachers have really progressed and jumped right into the space, even with kind of the remarkable range of needs that have been exhibited post-COVID. So I'm pleased at the progress that we've made in regard to tiered supports, but this is something that we're going to need to talk more about as not only in our school improvement planning, but also as we move forward. ELA curriculum selection. This was part of Goal 1. And so we have selected a new ELA curriculum, which is, Kara and her team and the group of teacher leaders that she's worked with have been amazing. Amazing. Lisa Azarito has been a real leader in the space. Val Drynan has been really remarkable.
Michelle Lebrecq as well.
Michelle Lebrecq
and
as
Margaret
well.
Messier led the 5 through 12.
Yeah. And so, some of our coordinators, our coaches have really stepped up and they've been exceptional. And so, in terms of looking ahead,
Oh, wait a minute.
go ahead.
When's the big reveal?
I know.
You
Do,
can't
I don't want to take away from Doug's presentation, but I could speak a little bit. Do you want me to just jump in right there?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so we're going to have another presentation on this, obviously. We did a little, we were narrowing down at Parent University and gave some insight, but we had our consensus meeting last Thursday with the team. And for the K-4 group, we made a decision to adopt EL education, which is a knowledge building curriculum aligned with state standards, in conjunction with Foundations and Heggerty for our foundational skills support. So we're really, really excited. The team did a phenomenal job. We participated in a lot of in a couple of different site visits at other districts, and it just matched all of the priorities and parameters that we set out for a district. So we're really excited. So now starts the planning of the implementation and what that will look like to make sure that we have a successful rollout. And then for our 5 to 12 program, we're continuing on with our curriculum guides that have been developed at each grade, and we're working to bring in the Empower Writing program. We felt like writing at our secondary level was our most significant need, just looking at our student achievement data. And so, like I said, Margaret Messier has done a phenomenal job researching this with the secondary team, and we'll be bringing in training for 5 through 12. It's looking like across the humanities, social studies, and ELA teachers will be trained in the Empower program next year. So that will be a really good start for them as well. But more to come on that. I'll give, and if there's questions, I can answer, but we'll provide more in-depth presentation.
But you're going to do a full presentation, and we could just ask then.
Yeah, we'll get that on a future agenda.
Thank you.
So the second goal is really all about collaborating with the stakeholders in town to get the high school approved, right? And so there has been some portion of every week. It ranges in time between, maybe 2 hours and 24 hours in the course of a week, where we're collaborating. We have been collaborating. Either on the educational plan, working with designers, doing kind of our community meetings, and I know that you were all involved, we're all aware of the community events that happened in the fall to educate everybody about what a new school meant for us. And so I couldn't be more pleased to report the progress that we've made on this goal. And I think I cannot thank and really recognize the number of people involved. There's just not enough time to do it, right? And so from the PBC to members of school committee that have given their time, members of school committee that have attended community meetings just to be there. And so there's just so many stakeholders that have been really terrific in this space. And so, our design team has been absolutely exceptional. The design team from SMMA and the project management group from Left Field have really been exceptional and kind of really touching on the high points as we've developed this plan. And P.S., they've been back in for the last week, meeting with all stakeholders, really refining the plans as we go from a schematic design to a construction plan. So we're really excited about that. So in terms of progress in this area, and so again, elements and indicators are noted on the left and in the area in red. So, and then on the right, it just kind of summarizes what has been completed, what is still in progress, and so we are really pleased. And you've heard this as far back as our tri-board meeting, that, safety and accessibility, not only in our new building, but in all buildings, and safety update, we will need to do that either in the late meeting or the June meeting to address some of the concerns that came up here this evening. But that's a separate issue. But this will, what you see after each bullet is kind of a bracketed assessment, a self-assessment of where we are in this process. So in regard to, getting the building approved, we've completed that module so far. In terms of safety and accessibility, are prioritizing the new design. We're still that's work in progress. NEASC accreditation is on track. And so we are preparing ourselves to again reconnect with NEASC, and Amy McLeod has been working very closely with them. Kara was just invited to attend another accreditation of a high school, just to kind of acclimate and familiarize ourselves with the accreditation process, because we want to be as current as we can in regard to not only all of the standards, but also what the best progressive high schools are doing in the state. So that's we say in progress. And so in terms of the budget, we feel like the budget is we're striking all the milestones. We presented to town council last night. There's one more group to present to, and that is to FinCom. We believe with the adjustments that we've made and the work that we've done with our liaisons, that we believe that they will vote favorable action. But we do need to meet with them and go through the changes that we've made, why we've made the changes, and talk with them more about process. So we're looking forward to that conversation. That is not yet on the calendar. We're excited to report grants that are in play. The Acceleration Academy grant, we understand, will be issued again from the Department of Education this year, which will allow us to bring in our K students early, which will be exciting. We are also partnered earlier in the year with the Board of Health, the BOH's Board of Health, and we've created a partnership with Melrose and Stoneham, and we have secured funding for an additional adjustment counselor at the high school for 3 years. Myself, the Director of Guidance, David Robinson, and Amy McLeod just recently went to the Bright Conference, which is a program really it was all clinicians, it was at Bentley College, to really look at ways to help students acclimate and get back if they're transitioning from an out-of-district placement or any number of different settings, how best to support them. And so that's that new position. We're looking at that new position, possibly supporting a Bright-like or a Bridge-like program. More to follow on that. High quality instructional materials, HQIM. I'm sorry for the acronyms, but I couldn't fit all this information on the slide. Carrie, you want to talk a little bit about the
happy
high
to.
quality instructional materials?
The next two I can even just hit on quickly. So we've been fortunate enough, similar to receiving this for math, we applied a couple of months ago, I believe it was in January, that the application was due, with the intention that we would be adopting one of the vetted curriculum resources that Mass Literacy on through DESE is promoting. They have an application process for districts that are looking to make a shift based on all of the latest research and the work of Mass Literacy, that if you're adopting one of the approved programs on Curate and Ed Reports, all of which are aligned to the standards, that they will issue your district money to help fund that, because it is significant cost to outfit, K to 4. So we did receive a grant for $145,000, which is excellent, and will help cover most of the costs for the resources that we just came to consensus on at our meeting last week. So that's really exciting. And then we also received additional grants related to implementation. We have for our math curriculum resource, where we have consultants coming in through Teach Lab to help look at how we've been implementing that program as well. And then we also received a grant that will help support teacher stipends over the summer to help prepare for the ELA implementation. So really great opportunities that we're trying to jump on wherever we can.
So just in regard to grants, someone asked me a little while ago, so what is your philosophy about grants? And it hasn't changed since I was a principal till now. It is, if we can apply for a grant and it can add value to what we're doing and help support teaching and learning and help support teachers, we will go after that grant. And so we have a few other grants that are in process that we're going to be hopefully reporting on in coming meetings. So we're really pleased to look for that, or look ahead to those things. Again, just to orient kind of where we are in the kind of the evaluation process, this is a mid-year update. The first goal was really aligned with instructional leadership. The second goal really is about management and operations. And in this space, in terms of management and ops, it includes financial systems and fiscal management. And continued work in this area is the new teacher contract, as well as recruiting and hiring. And so, with all of the things that we have going, all of the technology that we have in place, all of the new curriculums that we're purchasing, people make the place, right? Our people in the system, they make the weather for children, right? What's happening in classrooms, that's the lifeblood of this system, right? That's what it's all about. And so, I know, we've talked a lot about not only creating a budget that will support a new teacher contract, but this is a priority that has been highlighted as far back as the tri-board meeting. It remains to be a project that we're going to work on and see through until it's complete. So that's an update on goal 2, or standard 2 as well. In terms of the third goal, we will refine and create a comprehensive, efficient system of communication to engage and support all members of the WPS community, as measured by clear expectations about the importance of urgent, clear, and compassionate communication from administrators, teachers, and all other staff members. Student information systems, IPASS, formerly IPASS, right? So now we have PowerSchool. We will analyze its use and current research for a more effective system. We have implemented PowerSchool in place of IPASS, so we've made significant progress in that area. And we need to continue to assess student needs in regard to counseling and student services, right? To identify ways to improved outreach and implementation of support services. So we continue to think about not only the school day, but outside of the school day and school year in regard to supporting students. So very quickly, the progress that we're making in this space. Again, this aligns to standard 3. And so, we've improved translation services for our EL students. Our EL grant, our Title III grant, has been much improved, and I think we're using those funds more effectively. We've kind of shared the responsibility of the EL services, right? We have really exceptional EL leaders in the space. Do you want us to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we've been working on just trying to figure out different ways to just provide greater communication. So our ESL teachers have been working on utilizing apps. There's one called Touchpoint in particular to just do quick communication with families. We're looking to translate documents where we can more formally. And then we've also been fortunate to receive, I believe the Board of Health funded these as well, but Pocket Talk translators that I think we got about 25 across the district in our counseling offices, our teachers, admin. So we're trying our best to try to translate where we can. We've talked about this a lot through the budget process. The number of students requiring this support has increased, as well as the number of different languages across the district. So it's a lot to keep up with, but we have a lot of eyes looking at how to support this.
We do. So just picking up there. So improved student information system, we've talked about PowerSchool. We are still participating and you'll see in bullet 2, our live weekly Zoom calls. They're still pretty well attended. We have anywhere every week between 22 and on a high, we've had 40 participants. It's a lot of the same players, and it's good for us, and I think it's good for them. And when we are unable to meet, we'll get a note like, hey, missed you this week. So look, and so I think people like to connect. I think it feels like it keeps them close. And Steven's always on the call.
No, I didn't know if it was Steven sending you the hey.
Yeah. Amy has good attendance too.
What are the normal conversations, or is it just all over the map?
It's not all over the map.
Yeah.
So we usually report, there's usually a structure to it. So we usually report what's happening in the life of that week, right? And so this is what's happening, celebration of learning is this Wednesday, or if last Thursday report, it's this coming Wednesday, tomorrow. We just kind of give updates, and other members join the call with us. So, we'll have someone there from CPAC. Ann Herzog will join. We'll have other members. So other administrators join as well. Stel Burdick will join and give an update from Wakefield Academy. Dustin will join to give an update on food service. Tim O'Brien will join to give an update on facilities. Christine will join to give an update on kind of the work that we're doing in finance. And so it's kind of a verbal update of what's happening. We're also available to answer questions that people have. And questions, there's a range. And so, and other kind of calls like this are happening. We have our counselors that are doing live calls as well at the middle level. And so, and those calls are attended well some weeks, and some weeks.
Are they still doing their
I
coffee
haven't
chats?
seen that advertised.
I want to say one went off recently.
Okay.
I'll check.
I believe you. I don't.
I'll check.
I don't know if you just have to be on the Galvin distribution
Yeah.
list, which
Yeah.
is possible.
Yeah. So,
I'll
so,
look
go ahead, Kara.
No, I was just saying, I'll just double check. Go ahead.
So, yeah. So we're really thinking about. So this goal 3 is really about standard 3, family and community engagement, right? And so, so our calls are part of that. And I think, in terms of our estimation about how these things are going, we feel like they're improving. It's in progress. I think we need to adapt the calls to make them more dynamic or responsive to the needs of the community. For example, if there's something burning in the community that parents would like addressed, I think we need to figure out better ways to do that. And it's kind of making me think of things that are happening now in the district and things that people are eager to hear about and engage about, right? Last week, we were able to talk about YRBS, Youth Risk Behavior Survey. We were able to have Catherine Dingra join the call and talk about the structure. We were able to talk about our communication, where it went well, where what we're learning post-COVID, we are learning that, for example, with YRBS, we should have started from scratch, started from zero, and assumed like we've never given YRBS before, and kind of built up from a baseline. Because we've been away from it for so long, and so many things have changed. And Jackie has spoken to Kara and spoken to myself, and has given us, I think, some valuable feedback in regard to communication. So we take it and we think, okay, it's not personal. It's about trying to make it better, right? And I think that's the spirit in which we take that type of feedback, and we also try to offer information in that way as well. So just continuing on, we are looking at increasing counseling services. We do have 3 new positions total at the high school, and there'll be more information to come, I think, on structures there. And so continued work that needs to happen. We need to continue to improve communication and kind of readiness as it relates to district safety and protocols, right? So this slide was not prepared, this slide was prepared a while back. And you see, the concerns or conversations that we're having about safety right now, right? It's like we need to do more in that space. And so assessing emergency and crisis manuals, Tim O'Brien and Estelle Burdick are doing really good work in that area. So that will be updated when we do a safety kind of summary. Intervention services, we talked about this. And we also need to kind of continue to collaborate with the Board of Health on behavioral and mental health wraparound services, right? And so that there's more to follow on those things, or those are areas of growth for us in regard to family and community engagement, standard 3. So happy to answer any questions that you might have. But if you remember in the fall, this was about close to 30 slides, and I think the feedback we got was, "Oh, that's a lot of slides." And
In general, wrap it up.
you know, and it was like,
Is that a quote?
Is there any way to kind of pare this down? So again, in talking with Tom, we're doing a mid-year, so it doesn't feel like this overwhelming, you know, oh my gosh, there's, you know, just so much. We're just trying to chunk this out. But yeah.
When they start doing over under estimates, that's when it's too big.
Yeah.
Kevin.
Do you have a easily digestible demonstration of the student achievement data that you were alluding to in the
So,
first?
not this evening.
No, not tonight. I
Yeah.
meant in a future meeting. Would there be a way to, you know, cite some of the evidence that?
So so we have a lot of information. So, but in regard to the easily
I said
digestible.
easily digestible.
Yeah, not missed on me.
Yeah.
So we can give that some thought and think about how we might summarize that. Right? Yeah.
I just think that the community and the committee would like to, see before next fall. Would like to see, whatever student growth that we might have seen over the course of the year,
Yeah.
or any concerns that we see over the course of the year. I think that's something that would be appreciated.
Yeah. So what you're also going to hear from the principals in regard to their work at the school levels. So I think that they might have some insight into this as well. And so if you remember when they were talking about their school improvement plans in the fall, the elementary group in particular really said, and I think the secondary principals were in the same space, but on different kind of times. The gist of what was being described by the principals was, if we can get kids back and we can kind of work on the social emotional piece, the security piece, the engagement piece, everything else is going to take care of itself. Now I'm summarizing, so, and I don't want to, this is not as simple as I'm describing, but when the principals come back and talk about school improvement, I think that they'll have some more data that we can talk more about, and so.
And even in the ELA review too, we can show the data that we looked at to help inform our decisions and need for change and different areas to target too. So we can tie that into that. Maybe stagger it across a couple of different presentations between school improvement and ELA review, if that sounds good. And the chat with the counselor, that is ongoing, I think less frequently. The last one was in December. But we have a meeting with Jen and Andrew on Friday. We can. So you didn't miss anything.
Just especially with the concern about the shift in the math program.
Yep.
The last trimester in the Galvin, I think it'd be helpful to, try to, show, if we have student data, to be able to show it in a useful way that could be easily communicated.
Yeah. Point taken, I think. Other questions?
Okay, well, just as Doug mentioned moments ago, and I alluded to, spoke to at our last meeting, this presentation tonight comports with the expectations that we outlined last fall in the superintendent annual review process and the contract award for Dr. Lyons. So this is not only appropriate, but is certainly appreciated. Especially at this time of year when there are so many balls in the air that to be able to sit down and focus on being able to put together a presentation like this. It was potentially, hopefully, it was a useful exercise for yourself to do, as well as to appreciate where we all are in this point in time, because the success of the superintendents is the success of the district and vice versa. So. I know that I'm sure I speak for everyone in appreciating the time that you did put in to make this mid-year self-assessment, and we look forward to the follow-up of the particular items between now and the end of the fiscal year, and certainly as we open the school year in September. So
great.
So thank you for that. Next up.
Yep. And so next on the list is. We had planned an update to share some more information on the status of the high school logo And so the art department and the athletics department are kind of working on this, and we'll have some information. Definitely, there'll be an update on May 2nd, and we'll be able to share more information. And it's a little bit of a challenge for us because the May 2nd meeting will be in Boston, right? And so it will not be recorded. So I think we will give a brief update in Boston, and then we'll give a more comprehensive update at the end of the month as well. So 2 times in May, and we're looking to try to close that work out before the end of the school year or as soon as possible, right? And so that's kind of the work that we're doing in that space.
If I could add, we certainly definitely want to close the other work out. Appreciate the time that the art department has put into it. They're doing a job and engaging students in the type of what we've asked them to do. But we look forward to wrapping that up. You raise a good point, Doug, about our next meeting not being, not being here and not being able to present something. Maybe I could suggest, if it's not out of my lane, maybe that could be a topic of conversation for that Thursday's community call. And those that are interested might be able to hop on the community call and get an update on where the logo is, or that's an actual Zoom, right?
It is.
So you could potentially even show the.
I'm just thinking
show
about
the imagery around that.
We haven't recorded that call, and there's usually about 25 or 40 people on the call, so we could, but it would give, yeah.
Well, I'm
So
just trying to think that if you will certainly report something to us at May 2nd, even though we'll be in Boston.
Yep.
So you'll certainly report that, and then those that are interested can hop on the call.
Great. And so we can.
May 2nd's not recorded. It's not shown live either. It's just.
Yeah, we don't bring WCAT to
No,
Boston.
they don't want to come.
Not yet. Not yet.
They don't. I thought they had a van.
They have a van, but
They do, and they do remarkable things
it
for
has
us. I think
4
that they-
wheels and everything. But
Yeah, and so that's a quick there. In terms of comments and updates, really kudos to Becky and to Chris and the work that they do with the students in regard to Science Olympiad. I so enjoy listening to students. I do. I genuinely enjoy listening to students. This medal, 3rd place, 2nd place. It's not easy eating lunch in the cafeteria while you have to have all these medals around your neck, and they are why we are here, right? And so they are representations of our work. So it's a pleasure to listen to them, and you can hear the pride and the love that they have for the science and their students in regard to the work they're doing. And in regard to the work we're doing with WMGLD and the sticker contest, really kudos to our science teachers and for really reinventing this. This was something that was not really kind of
Yeah, it was originally in 5th grade, and
Yeah.
so in the form of an essay. So I think, as Joanne said, just to kind of revamp it to make it just fit more seamlessly into what was already being taught.
Yeah.
And
It aligns with
kids
the
love
standards.
stickers.
And it's more accessible.
More fun.
Not every.
It
Yeah.
is.
Right.
More
We're working
accessible,
on a writing curriculum.
kinda cool.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah. So so there's just so just in terms of comments and updates, to summarize, I hope it wasn't missed at really the good work that's happening here. With Jeff Weiner and his team, they've been amazing. Donna Cushman, in regard to her work with Power School, we talked about Jimmy Martin. Diana Ho. There's so many people that should be recognized. Even Jeff's ability to adapt. We were struggling this year getting tickets taken care of, and people weren't getting kind of the tech support that we had wanted to provide. And you know what? Jeff got together with his team and said, this is a problem, and they've reinvented it. They've recreated it, to try to adapt to the challenges. And I just think that it's really, really in a good place. In terms of the cybersecurity work, that we're going to do an audit in that space for cybersecurity that will include kind of a look at a hacker's ability to get into our system. It will look at malware in regard to, as well as ransomware opportunities that are that we're doing there. And so, and really that the prompting for including cybersecurity in our security work really came from Dan Lieber. Just really saying, these are things that we should be looking out for. And you know what? He was absolutely correct, because all of the things that we've talked about have really shown themselves in other parts of our work in other communities, right? In terms of things that are happening. So we're making progress. Is the long story short. Is it enough? We never feel like it's enough, but we're really pleased to be doing the work. That's really it. So that's it for me. Happy to answer any questions. If not, we're moving on.
Any other questions for Doug? Certainly, this is also, I mentioned to the committee members, this is also an opportunity at the mid-year point to certainly reach out to the superintendent and have the one-on-one type conversations that we have at the annual point. This is a point to do that as well. It's not a formal way, so I won't really engage you the way that we did back in the fall, but don't hesitate to do that, as you see appropriate. Okay, subcommittee reports. Item 12, Finance and Facilities. Mr. Boudreau.
I don't think we've met since our last meeting, I'm pretty sure, and we have a meeting this Thursday.
We do.
So that'll be the last one before the election. So nothing to report just yet.
Very good. Labor and Personnel, also Thursday, although a different time of day. We have our next negotiation with Unit A, the WEA, and progress is being made, and we look forward to those continued our collaborative conversations. They're going well. Student Services, Ms. Lehman.
Yes, we met on Monday, April 3rd. We had some special guests, principals, 3 principals. Tiffany Beck from Greenwood, TJ Liberty from the Dole Bear, and Amy McLeod from the high school joined our call. It was a Zoom. And we just shared the survey with them. We wanted to share the survey with the principals before we brought it to the full committee and publicly. And we just talked about some of the findings and see how we could collaborate with the principals, what they could do to kind of close the gap on some of the parents' concerns. Maybe more alignment between elementary schools was brought up. We actually touched on homework assignments, more consistency around that, and then we got into a side conversation about homework in general. Yes, so we talked about homework. So our next meeting is, this is actually wrong it's actually, because it has us meeting on school vacation, which we won't do. So we're meeting the 24th on Zoom at 5:30 Monday. All are welcome.
Very good, thank you. Policy and Communications, Mr. Ingles.
We have not met since our last meeting. Just scheduling has been a bit of a challenge. But I believe we hope to meet 2 weeks from today, after we get back from vacation. It would actually be election day, but we have some things that we'd like to work on. The one thing we do have a policy proposal that's on the table. It's the policy to sort of, it would be to move the date for school committee posts to after the town election. So push them into the end of the month. And that was placed on the table about 2 weeks ago. So everyone should have had a chance to review it. If there were any questions.
I have a quick question. Did this come about, was it internally, or is it something that other districts do, like they wait till the budget's full? I was wondering where the push came from to make the change.
Sure. It was internally. It was more or less anecdotal. And there's 2 components to it. One of them being in talking with Tom, with Mr. Markham, about the sort of, you spend a year sort of preparing for budgetary stuff and in focused on getting the budget passed, and that's what happens at town meeting. So you sort of have to continue to chair for the budget as we go into town meeting. Yeah. And so putting someone sort of in that seat who didn't have that visibility into the budget, could this be a better process in that way? And then it also wasn't lost on us in the Policy and Comms subcommittee is that we have 2 new school committee members that were elected a year ago.
Yeah.
And so as we were talking about the frenetic pace of things after the election, I think, and even I've 2 years, I haven't been around that long. I think between us all, it was just like, if you could just push out sort of some of that work to a little bit after people can get their feet under them, get sworn in by Betsy, sort of get used to the seat, meet the people, that might be a benefit.
Thank you.
So in terms of hard data, no. In terms of real life experience, it sort of seemed to
No,
make sense.
I read
for
through
us.
it and thought it made, and then you even put that caveat like, well, you're gonna ask, what if like the chair and the vice chair both didn't run for earlier, and you put that in there, so I thought that was perfect. I just was curious where it came from. I didn't know if Tom was trying to extend his stay in there.
Oh, yes, yes, a double term, oh, yeah. It's
Never been done.
more fun than a ball of monkeys. There's no- yeah. No, I could just say, because Steve and I did discuss this back at the time, and and I would call it anecdotes as well. It isn't lost that, the last couple of years, probably for many years, a new member, I call it sort of inside baseball, right? The only thing that's sort of inside baseball at any elected board is the rotation of chairs and vice chairs and all of that, right? It's very much that. And how do we remove some of that so it doesn't become the first thing that a new member does is sit down and make a very, inside baseball sort of political decision that they have really no predisposition toward. And I know, not to speak for Kevin and Eileen, but that this came up last year, and it's like, we talk about this every year. Every time there's a new member, they say, what? I have to vote on, and. So the opportunity came up to, when we were chatting, to why don't we just fix it? If the committee thinks this is a real thing, let's fix it.
Yeah, and I thought
so
it
we
was,
stopped talking about it, let's fix it.
it was good we're not meeting the night that they're elected too, because that was always like,
Right,
oh.
and we used to meet the night after. We used to take the Tuesday meeting and make it Wednesday. And all of a sudden, it's, a real frenzy. And then even last year, I think we pushed it to a week after, but that didn't buy us much.
It doesn't help that much.
Doesn't help that.
It's
So,
the first meeting.
It's a
anyways.
whirlwind week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what'll be good is after this year, it won't be like an extension. It'll just be, this is when the
Oh, I
term will
was
sit, and it'll be.
kidding.
I was thinking about it, but so that'll be good. So if it's okay, I have a motion that I could read, which would be to move that the school committee approve the policy proposal on school committee officer term as presented.
Second.
So my recommendation would be to read the motion as you presented it at 2 weeks ago, as opposed to what's on the motion sheet, in all due respect, to bring some clarity to.
I would appreciate that if I could find it.
It's the last set of materials in the packet.
I think it's one.
One.
There we go. Sure. Policy of the school committee, policy 207, school committee reorganization.
No, it's the,
Oh,
it's the,
one
it's
page up.
one page before that.
Oh, there we go. Okay. I move to amend the school committee policy 207, school committee reorganization, by 1, replacing the words in the second sentence, following the annual town election, with following the close of the annual town meeting, and 2, by adding a new last sentence, should the sitting chairperson or vice chairperson not be available post-town election, then the school committee will reorganize itself at its first meeting following the town election, with its most senior member presiding through the reorganization vote. This change is to be effective immediately.
Motion made, is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Dr. Piscatello, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Long time coming, good job.
Okay. Item E, 12E rather, liaison reports. Any member have a liaison group that they're working with that they care to report on?
I could give a report on CPAC. We had a good meeting with Brennan Kent. He came and CPAC has been talking to Will Cavanaris with theater and with Brendan in regard to sports and seeing sort of where there might be some collaboration between student participation in more activities, and are we doing enough to sort of support all of our students in those areas? So Brendan came in and gave a really good sort of overview of the Challenger program that exists for basketball. CPAC was asking about, if there were other opportunities in other sports, and Brendan was absolutely open to that. He shared that actually a challenge that they have is sometimes getting enough players to field a team. And so in that group, he actually shared out that they don't close the door at Wakefield necessarily in the Challenger program if other students from other districts wanted to come and join some of our Wakefield kids to be able to put a team on a field or on a court, that they're welcome to do so. So CPAC talked a little bit about trying to communicate that out effectively. And there was that, and then Rosie Galvin just happened to mention that we have a review coming up, a multi-tiered...
Tiered progress monitoring. Yeah, it used to be called a coordinated program review.
Right.
Yeah.
So members
special
of
ed review.
DESE are going to come in and sort of review our IEP process and sort of making sure that we're supporting students in all the right areas, access to programming. There's a civil rights component as it relates to sort of bullying. And then part of that will be not just talking to school administration, but there'll be a parent survey and other outreach throughout the schools. So that's coming up, and it'll actually be the first part of May.
Did everyone got an email, right?
Yep.
Did
Yep.
that go like?
The email went out for special ed and English learners as well, because that review will be in there too, with civil rights.
And there's also a link to the document on the website. So
Excellent.
that's that.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve. Any other liaison topics? Seeing none. Item 13, future dates and agenda items. Dr. Lyons and our Medco director have secured Tuesday, May 2nd, which is our next meeting, beginning at 6 p.m. To be our first meeting in Boston in a couple of years. As the community may remember, and some members may remember, for a number of years we had annually held one meeting in Boston with our Boston families,
You're the only one.
inviting students.
They never did it with me. So you're
Oh,
the
really?
one here.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
it's
you and Kevin.
it's certainly, we did it for many years under the certainly the very a genuine interest that many of the students that reside in Boston are our students too. We are their school committee. We represent their interests as students and their moms and dads and caregivers' interests as parents and family members. So we had held one meeting a year in Boston, and it was really a very delightful meeting. We will conduct our routine business, so it's not a non-meeting, it's not a social gathering, it's an actual meeting. The superintendent and the team will be present and provide the agenda items as they're laid out. But what we do to begin is we have the families, we have an opportunity to meet with the Boston students and their parents. They have often put out the appetizers or even a full dinner to welcome us and be able to exchange and have some informal conversations with students and parents who we don't have the same type of opportunity to engage with as we do, obviously, with Wakefield residents. So it was a nice tradition. I really enjoyed it. I'm sure the superintendent, I know, Kevin, we've done it many times. I'd look out and it's just Kevin and I. But believe me, it was a very nice evening and a very nice opportunity to engage with students and parents who we don't have the same sort of chance to do. So we have resumed that now in post-COVID world. So our next meeting, Tuesday, May 6th at 6 p.m. Will be held in Boston. We'll put out directions and all of that. Maybe we've typically done, carpooling or that if people are up for that. So we'll figure that out offline. But it is not something that we drag WCAT to. although I'm sure if we push, they would be very generous to do that, but it's not necessary. Nor, frankly, is there a requirement that meetings be broadcast. So we'll obviously take copious notes, and anyone that is interested, is more, obviously, from the community is more than welcome to join us as well.
It starts at 6, or like the meet and greets at 6?
The meet and greets at 6.
Okay.
And then we will have a social and a meal. I am told that we will, that the parents will be hosting us.
It's at the new Metco office.
Oh, nice.
And so, and there's you get to tour the office, and there's a kind of an little exhibition hall that they have there. It's not too large, it's small. And so I see you making big eyes there, Stephen. It's like, oh.
I'm like, want to forget like a history lesson of the program.
No, so
and,
we will,
like, yeah.
so there will be some of that, and so, which will be great. So you'll get to see the new office and kind of the information that they share with visitors. And then there's going to be a dinner with parents and families that are able to come. And I'm sure students will be there as well. It's a great opportunity to talk with students about their experiences here in Wakefield, and then we have a meeting.
Yeah. And certainly, as we do, obviously, we will be highlighting some of our Boston families and Boston students. There's also typically, at least historically, there's been some time when the Metco staff will bring in some alumni and share with us some story and history. Wakefield was one of the original Metco communities back nearly 50 years ago now. I'm not sure the exact first year of it, but it was certainly in the late 60s, early 70s.
Back when we were going to
I'm
school,
sure of
Tom.
that. Yeah. So, anyways, it has always been a very nice experience, and it's a nice engagement for the school committee to support our students and our families too, who just don't happen to live in Wakefield.
Do host families attend sometimes?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
More than welcome to.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that will be our next meeting, Tuesday, May 2, 6 p.m. Boston. The meeting after that, following the calendar that's been in play for since the summer, is Tuesday, May 23, 7:30, and that will be here back in the studio. In between that time, I just put on the agenda the town meeting begins Monday, May 15 at the Galvin. So that's just the May will continue to be busy for us, of course. Very good. School committee comments. I'm going to take the liberty of going first, if I may, and to kick off that tonight happens to be the last meeting before town election. And although we wish Dr. Piscatello all the best in his re-election bid, we're not going to be talking about you tonight.
Right.
But we wish you all the best in your re-election bid. But we certainly want to share some thoughts and some greetings and some deep appreciation of Mr. Boudreau, who's going to be leaving us. And just, Mike, it has been a pleasure. I'll kick things off a bit. It's been a pleasure to work with you for the last for your term. You've been a gentleman, and you've brought an element to this committee that it sorely needed. So you were the right man at the right time. Too bad you can't be with us for another term. You would continue to provide that just what we need. But it has been a pleasure as one of members, and it's a pleasure to get to know you in a different way. I know we met many years ago when my daughter played soccer, but certainly, Mike, it has been it's been an honor and a pleasure, and I thank you on my own behalf as a friend, as a citizen, and as a taxpayer for your service to the school district. You've made a difference. Kevin.
Yeah, I'd like to likewise express my profound disappointment in Mr. Boudreau for leaving me hanging. And,
We get to move over one day.
no, because when I got this gig, when I was lucky enough to get this gig last year, your name happened to be next to mine, and I'm just really confused how selfish you are in not running again. So just for my sake, to have the consistency of your presence next to me. And having always the paper copies of everything there, so you can just show to me.
Stephen and I are kind of like the ants.
Yeah.
No paper.
So I just want to know you to know that you'll be sorely missed. You were honest. You were honestly you were a very genuinely nice man, a caring man, and I think that you will be a loss to the committee and sorely missed. So thank you.
Should I go last?
You will get on the last word tonight, promise.
Finally. I know you're not wholly selfish because you're still giving your time to all those other boards. I don't know what they have that we don't. But I know you'll continue to sort of be of service to the town, and I'm just grateful that you decided to sort of spend three years sort of giving of yourself to this board. And as Tom said, and as Kevin, it shows in sort of the quality of discussion that we've had. Has definitely been heightened. So thank you for lending your voice. Appreciate it.
We'll miss you. So I met Mike. When I was running, he said, "Let's go for a walk," and he walked the lake in Birkenstocks or some kind of
Flip-flops.
And I said, if he can walk the lake in flip-flops, there's nothing this man can't do. It's been a pleasure to get to know you better. You've always had like a voice of reason, asking excellent questions. So yeah, you'll be missed, but good luck to everything. Enjoy your free time.
Thanks for the cookies.
Yeah, I'm just basically echo, I think, what everyone has said. When I was, contemplating running a couple years ago, I reached out to Mike and he replied right away, and we grabbed a coffee, and I had known of him just because of how much you do in the community for so long. And I had heard the name and a shared friend. It's like, oh, he's a great guy. And I left the meeting thinking the same thing. Like, what a nice person. And so I've just been appreciative of your approach too. You always kind of have that funny thing to say, but poignant at times, but kind of a relief at times as well. And I really appreciate that as well. I'm sad you're not running again, just because I've enjoyed working with you, but I know you'll continue to be active in the town, and I look forward to, potentially collaborating in new ways, potentially in the future. But good luck, and thank you for all that you've done for the schools and for me as a colleague.
Thank you.
And we all know I'm a crier, so like I'm gonna
God,
do
here we go.
but I'm gonna miss you, Mike. And I met Mike last year when I was running, and we just had so many connections. Like we have the hockey thing. Clearly, I was late because I was at hockey thing. We have the hockey thing. I remember you and I were chatting, and we made a connection that you used to live in my neighborhood, and then your daughter was running this wonderful fundraiser, and I helped to contribute to it at the time, and I was like, that's your daughter? And like we just had so many connections, and it was just so wonderful, and it's just so wonderful to get to know you over the past year. And I don't know, I'm gonna miss you.
Thank you.
I'm not gonna talk more because we all know the waterworks are gonna start, but I'm gonna miss you very much.
Certainly invite any of the administrators who wanted to share. No pressure.
I you on finance and facilities. Come to central office anytime.
I promise you I will.
Yeah, no, just we've always felt your support, Mike. You've been just so kind, and asking great questions, figuring out the information ahead of time, and we just really have felt your support. So thank you for that.
Yeah,
I'm not going to miss you at all.
I'm with Kevin on this. You're kind of leaving us out there a little bit. All joking aside, Michael, you're one of the few people I've met that listens like you listen with your whole body, right? You're like in, I think people leave conversations with you and they genuinely feel heard, they genuinely feel cared for, And I think that that's why you're a go-to for so many people, right? So many people, right? It's amazing. You're always available. I don't know how that's even possible, but you're always available for a phone call or a text, or you'll be missed. And so you'll be missed. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate it. I have a few words to say. I know that's a shock. We'll be here too long because we have to go up for that Diet Coke.
Diet Pepsi.
Pepsi, I'm sorry. So certainly when I started 3 years ago, I'm not sure I had an idea of what it was going to be like. But I thought, oh, this might be kind of cool.
Something to do on a Tuesday.
I'm not sure though. We'll talk about curriculum and things like that. Of course, the first 2 years, I don't think we even said the word curriculum. Because it certainly started off with a bang. Tom was here with me at that point in time too. COVID, the logo, a bunch of other things that really you could argue were somewhat detached from what we were trying to create here as far as an educational experience. So. I thought in some ways I felt ill-equipped for the role back then because, you go to conferences and stuff, but it really didn't matter for the first 2 years because we were doing things that we had never, ever done before. So we were all learning as we went forward. This, to me, is almost the first year where it seems like it's relatively normal. I still have a few lingering things going on right now, but it was never dull. And you don't have to worry about filling up the time in your day or in your calendar, and you all know that as much as anybody. It's been great to certainly meet all of you, the administration. You guys are amazing. In the central office, I always love going to the central office. There's so much fun there as well. All of you, who I consider, besides fellow committee members, close friends, and I know we will continue to keep in touch wherever we go going forward. But the teachers, the parents, because we're so entwined in the community. The parents, the WCAT guys. I mean, my gosh, if I've Brian, Tom, Ryan, Ian, all that crowd. I mean, we've said it so many times. All the work that they do to make this thing go off is so impressive. And of course, the kids. I mean, my favorite memories I will treasure is having the kids here. I mean, that's what it's all about at the end of the day, is the kids. But all of you, you deal with, you're so compassionate, you're so dedicated, because it is a time commitment, and I don't want to discourage anybody from doing it. I don't regret it for a second, because someone has to do it, and you've all stepped up to the plate to do that. So I hope the rest of the town appreciates what you do, having seen it myself. And you deal with complex, very emotionally charged issues. People are calling you on a regular basis, complaining. So it's hard. It's hard. As I say, it's complex. There's just so much to it beyond the issue itself sometimes that you have to deal with as well. And it's an amazing experience. And I appreciate all of you very, very much for what you do, but probably more importantly is dear friends. So I will miss you.
Thank you, Michael. It's a good meeting when you can clap. We've clapped now 3 times tonight. So twice for students and once for Michael. So that's a good night. Anyways, I gave Mike promise he'd have the last word. So we have a motion.
Move that the school committee adjourn its meeting of Tuesday, April 11, 2023.
I'll second it.
Second. All in favor? Opposed? Passes unanimously. Good night, all.